Today we're going to be reupholstering the seats on our Fiat 500L. Only the front seats, not doing the back seats at the moment. The reason why I'm doing the front seats is because they're a bit tatty, a bit old, got some rips in them. Foam is kind of not feeling its best either. So we're going to be doing that today.
So we're going to take the chair out in order to recover it. Now we're doing this from the passenger side. This is the driver's side that we're going to take out. Here you can just see the driver's side chair, but we're going to do it from the passenger side just so I can film it and so we've got access. Otherwise I'm trying to hold the door open. So we've moved the chair into like a forward position, so obviously hopefully you know that the chair moves up and down. And at the front, let's just see if we can go in here, we have this little handle in here. You see it there, that's where my finger is. Now if we pull that up, the chair should slide out, but these have a habit of being a little bit sticky. So what I like to do is get a little bit of a rubber mallet, and as I pull the lever up, just tap the runners from behind. So here's the runners here, and there's one down this side. You can't really see it very well, but I'll try and get it just there. I'm just going to tap it forwards very gently until we are free. So I know it's going to be difficult to see and film, but like I said, just going to lift up the handle slightly, get in here with a mallet, and just tap our way forwards. So let's see if we can get this. It's a bit dark in here. The chair is fully off its runners, and now we can remove it from the driver's side. So here we are with our chair. As you can see, it has got a rip in that side, and I think it's got one in the back as well, which is why we are replacing the covers. So I'm going to teach you and show you how to do this. Now the easiest thing to do is for us to flip it over. So we flip the chair over. Now the seat covers are held in place by these triangle pieces of metal here. Hopefully you can see those. There should be one somewhere here as well, but yeah, it's there, it's just not securing it. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the back here, and down the front as well we should have another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what we're going to do is get a pair of pliers and bend those pins back, and then we should be able to slide the covers off. So here I've got a pair of pliers, just a pair of small long nose pliers. We're just going to get in here, try and get underneath, and then try and work it out. So what we're doing, just trying to pull it up, and what we're going to do is go along and do the same to all of those, and as you can see, you can just then pull the covers away from where they were. So another 5 to do along here, and the other 6 along the bottom. So hopefully you can see now. Let's just zoom in a little bit, see if I can get it to focus. Doesn't seem to want to. There we go, I can zoom in using zoom. So you can see we've moved all these up, so they're in an upward position. Same with the ones down here. And now we should be able to pull the covers off. So we've got the seat back the right way up, and this should all be just loose cover now. We just literally pull it off, and let's try and get a picture of this. So you've got this base at the bottom which sits on the springs, and you can see the spring network there. Now this is really for the purposes of making sure the foam doesn't disintegrate. So this, you want to make sure that if you are replacing your seats, you get some more of this. This one's quite nice actually, because plastic on the bottom. So I might reuse that one again. Here's the foam. It's not in too bad a condition, but you can see kind of the stains and rust and stuff that's on there. And then this is the cover that was on there, and you can see the nice sweat and stuff like that that's been on there for a number of years. And we're going to do exactly the same with the top. It should just pull up. I'll do that off camera and then show you. So it literally pulled straight up. In here you've got the foam backing. Let's see if we can get this out very easily. Here's the foam backing. This one's quite nice actually, because it's got like a rubber edge to it, which is quite unusual. But you can see that it's starting to disintegrate, and that wasn't just from me pulling it out. It's clearly been in there a little while. But I have taken seats apart before, and the foam is completely gone. So this is not in too bad a shape. And as I said, the side padding bit's quite nice. It's got a bit of weight to it as well, compared with the general replacement ones, which are just light foam. If we take a look at the actual seat, so there's a bit of kind of light rust in places on the seat. Now what I am actually going to do is all these pieces down here, the little hooks that we were on, I'm going to try and do is straighten those as much as possible. So it allows us to hook the new seat covers on top again as well, in a good way. Then I'm going to power wash the seat. I'm going to just to try and clean up as much as possible all the years of filth. Then I'm going to rub it down and then treat the rust, and then I can just rattle can spray it in black satin to make it look good before I put it back in the car. What we also have here is a quite interesting mechanism which allows us to move the seat back or forwards, and this has a kind of piece of rubber in it, and it's hooked under the front of this bar here, just 2 little hooks there, goes through a little kind of traverse bit in the middle here, and then wraps around the back, and 2 hooks. You just about see the hook inside there, so we're going to take that off as well. Really easy to do. All we're going to do is pull the strap so we have a little bit of give, so we can unhook this piece here, feed it through and unhook the front there, and that will come off. I'll show you that in one piece in a second. So yeah, we can crack on. And here is the strap. So this bit was under the back of the chair, hooked under there, and this bit was under the bar on the chair to allow it to kind of stay in position and give that kind of flexible movement. We'll put this to one side and obviously put it back on the seat before we put the chair back together. Also notice that this bar in the centre here should be quite nice and straight, but this is anything but. I don't know whether you can see, it's been kind of hit or kicked and stuff over time, so going to try with a bit of a hammer, maybe a homemade kind of dolly, to try and put that in a bit of better shape. Try and get it a bit straighter than it is. So our first job, now the chair is relinquished of the material and foam, is to power wash. So here's our chair frame, all power washed off, so nice and clean. You can start to see the rust or like surface rust that we've got, which we'll clean up in a minute. You can also see here that I've straightened all the teeth to take the cloth when we reupholster it, and I've done the side ones here as well that I was mentioning before that we couldn't see very well. I've also done my best to try and straighten up this. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better than it was, and yeah, it should be fine to go back in the car like that. Let's see whether you can see the teeth down the front here. Hopefully you can see those as well, nice and straight and ready. So now ideally this would probably be sandblasted and powder coated. The trouble with doing that is that the powder coating will be quite thick, and that can affect things like the rail operation and stuff. So we're not going to do that. And to be honest with you, the surface rust is not like deep, it's not too bad. So what we're going to do is rub it down, and I'll show you what we're going to rub it down with in a second. And then we're going to apply some brush treatment, which will act as a very thin kind of primer, which we can then apply just a top coat of black satin to. And because this is internal on the car, doesn't get a lot of kind of traffic wear, I'm not too bothered or too worried about the paint kind of coming off. So it should adhere fine with a nice little bit of a sand. There's still quite a bit of paint on most surfaces anyway, so with a bit of a sand that should allow it to adhere enough. Okay, let's crack on with some sanding. So what I've got here is some very fine pad. This is 360 grit, just like a Scotch-Brite. I think the maker of this is Mirka, M-I-R-K-A. Easy to buy off the internet most places. And we've also got some 320, again this is Mirka, but this is Arbornet sandpaper, so very good stuff, reusable, doesn't clog up. And all we're going to do is give it a light rub down, especially where there's bits of rust. Try and take off as much surface rust as possible. So we've sanded the entire chair, spent about 30-40 minutes getting rid most of especially the high spots of rust and stuff. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. There's a lot of dust now on it from all the sanding, so we're going to power wash it again and let it dry again before the next stage. Now the next stage is really where we're going to start to transform the chair frame. So I use this stuff called Built Hammer Hydrate 80. It's a rust killer barrier system, and I'm not going to open that because I've already got some that I put in a jam jar. So it looks like this. It's like a really thin kind of mauve liquid, I guess.
I decanted it because it's better than trying to do it out the bottle, because you don't want the bottle to get dirty and stuff, the stuff inside the bottle to get dirty, I should say. But what we're going to do is apply this with a paintbrush quite liberally over the whole chair. And it looks mauve at the moment, but you'll start to see the transformation as we apply it. Now I'm going to do the whole frame in this, but just to show you what all the transformation looks like, we just paint a little bit of it. Got my brush here. We're going to paint a little bit of it, let it dry, and then you can see the difference, and then I'll get a crack on with the entire chair. So we just do this bit along here. As you can see, looks very watery, very mauve. Kind of wondering what the outcome could look like, but don't worry, you'll soon see it. Make sure you get everywhere, and applying it with the paintbrush is very nice and easy. You don't need huge amounts, but you do need to cover it. Right, we'll leave that 5-10 minutes to dry and then come back and show you what it looks like. So here we can see it's dried, and you're kind of left with this purpley black shiny piece. Nothing comes off, but it's converted the rust. So we now no longer need to worry about that rust. What we're going to do is coat the whole chair now, and show you what it looks like after we've finished. Alright, that's our entire chair covered in the rust converter. Now we need to leave it to dry for around 24 hours, and then we can go over it a little bit if we want to, but shouldn't really spray on it until it's had 24 hours to dry. So we're going to let it do that. Then we can either give it a quick rub down, or it tends to be, because it's quite a rough surface when you paint that stuff on anyway, it tends to be good to just literally whack some paint straight over the top. So we'll see, we'll let it dry and see what we've got. So here we have our chair, it's all dry from the rust converter. It's looking much blacker already, but we're going to give it a top coat of this. So this is Reupholstering satin black. We've just keyed it very slightly with some very light Scotch Bright, just to give it a little bit of a key. In my experience, doesn't really need it, but did it anyway. So we've got our frame here ready to go with our kind of Craigslist rebuild on it. Just spruced it up, made it look good, got rid of the rust, and it's ready to go. Previously we had this on the base turned up the other way, and this is to protect and make sure the foam doesn't end up disintegrating through. Now this one has plastic on the back, which I quite like, but it is quite thin because it's been used a lot of years over the time. This is our new backing on our bonnet here, and this is a bit oversized at the moment, so we need to trim it, and we can use that as a template, but this does not have plastic on the back. So what I think I'm going to do is use that one as a template for the other one, cut it out, and then put this one on the bottom and the other one over the top of it, so kind of have a 2-layer of that, just so we can keep that plastic in there, but also so we're not in danger of making this material really thin. So you can see we've marked the pattern around the new one. Now we can cut that out and put both of them onto the chair. So here we have our 2 layers of foam. So we have our original underneath,
hopefully you can see that, and our new one on top, which is a very close match. Next to go on will be our foam, and then we can put our bottom cover on. So here's our base foam. Got some material here to kind of pull it over and get that as tight as possible before we put the top piece on. So next step is going to be to try and hook that material under onto the spikes, to give it a nice rounded appearance, and then we can put the cover on top of that. So I don't know how well you'll be able to hear me with the camera up high there. Realised we forgot to do one crucial step, which was to re-put on our band. And this, if you remember, goes under here, hooks in, comes round the top, thread it through here. Poke it through. One side, through the other, back round, and then hook it under the front of the frame. And there we go. Now we have our ability to move the back around as we please. Put our layers back on, make sure we've got them where they need to be. Now we're gonna, that's where it gets a bit harder. Going to make sure it's nice and tight around here, try and find our little hooks. I can feel that hooking on there. Same in the next one. Hear it catch. Next one. There we go. That's folded around there nicely now. Now it's a bit easier to turn it over, and you can see we've got our hooks here. So we're going to do the same thing with this side. Keep it nice and tight. And latch it on to those hooks. Okay. So that piece of foam is nicely in place. The dirt would have been good if I'd have cleaned the table. Might do that in a second. And we can go ahead and put the top cover on here now. So here we have the cover, the bottom. So only can go one way round. These holes here go into the back, comes round. You want it to be nice and tight, so don't worry about it if you feel it's a bit over tight. The hard thing to do here is to get these pulled right back in. There's a lot of tension needs to be brought to bear to make that happen. The first thing I like to do generally though is to do the front, get that secured, and then as you're pulling it, if you're pulling it round, it makes it slightly easier. Needs to be comfortable there. So not going to put too much tension on this front because all the tension is going to come in the back. Just going to make sure it nicely lines up here. It doesn't at the moment, it's a bit too far around this way, so we're just going to pull it round slightly so front's matching. Then we're just going to puncture the holes, the spike straight through. You don't have to create holes for this. The spikes create the holes for you. And if you do get this wrong slightly, because you can't see the holes because they're underneath, it is a little bit forgiving. So don't worry if you feel like you've made a massive mistake, because most things are pretty recoverable. There we go. So that's nicely in place. Now I'm not going to tap those back at the moment, but that's a job we'll do later when we're happy with it all in place, but that should be enough to keep that in place while we turn our attention to this side. So we're going to have to really give it some pull. And the seat's broken. Okay, so when I was trying to put the seat cover on, I've had it for a long time actually. I haven't put it on. I've had it probably a couple of years and I haven't put it on yet, so this was the first time I was doing it. When I was pulling it tight, it started to tear here and on the same side here. Now I've done these before and that's not happened, so obviously a weak joint. I've had to use some glue, but then I've stitched it all around and I'm hoping that that's going to be enough. If it's not, then I'm going to be into a new chair cover and I really don't want to be doing that. So we're going to have another go at securing the seat cover and see how it goes. I'm going to try and get it in position again. Let's try and get these really nice and close to start with for putting on the front. Okay, so I'm going to have a change of tack slightly this time. I'm going to start with this. And if you remember, there's two little hooks on the side here. I'm just going to bend that one back a bit more so I've got better access to it. And we're going to pull these around first and hook them on here. Front seems to be okay in position. I am going to need to pull it a bit more. I
think that's going to be okay. So let's get a pair of pliers. I'm just going to bend this one out a bit more. Okay, so I'm going to try and get that tight into that corner as possible, and then we're going to keep the tension and punch it through. It's looking quite tight that side, so that's good. Let's see what I can do. Similar thing on this side. There we go, that's through as well. And before I do anything else, I'm going to hammer these back down. Here I've just got like a little nail hammer. It's nicely secured in. And that as well. Now we can focus on bringing this up and over. Hooked on nicely. The end ones are always a bit more tricky. Okay, so that's nice and tight actually, I'm happy with that. Now we just need to see if we can secure this front back on, which is going to be a challenge because there's not a lot of room here. Seems to be going, which is good. It does mean that the holes at the front here are not quite in the same place as they were when I started, but as I said before, there's a bit of leeway because the other holes that I did create were underneath, so you're never going to see them. They're always going to be underneath the chair. Right, there's nothing else to go on the front bit here, so we can knock those down. No, it's difficult for you to probably see the exact thing that I'm doing here. Putting it at that angle is maybe even worse for me. I'm just going to turn it this way to do the final one, to make it easier for myself. So there we go. Disaster averted on that, because when it started to tear I was very worried, but actually it looks good, you can't really see it, and once we get the back on it should be fine. So that's the next step, is to put the foam back on. So I need to find where my foam back is. And I've got it just in here. Foam back is quite easy to put on, to be fair. There, woo. difficult at all. Then getting the tension on this right can be a little bit more tricky. So got our back sleeve here, goes over the top, and again it will be a little bit tight. That's what you want. The chair to fall off the table. Through the other side, and then we need to keep pulling, because although it kind of looks like it should be where it is, it's not. So the reason I know that is, look at that needs to be really tight against here. We've still got some foam showing here as well, so we're not quite in the right position. Still saggy, so when we come to pull this, you're gonna have to pull it really very hard to get it to where we need it to be, and really feed it through. Pull hard on this. I'm going to do the two sides here, the middle ones, sorry, and then just flip it to see how we're looking. Not too bad, but there's still, you can see there's still, I was putting that really very tight, and yet it's still a little bit baggy around that area. Problem is the foam goes in here, see that? So there's a kind of big divot around here putting the foam. Let's also pull the top one back, see if that makes a bit of a difference. Anything that makes it slightly worse. We're going to take that out and pull even harder, and despite the fact I thought I'd been pulling really hard the first time, I've gained probably another centimetre, and that's started to look where I want it now actually, so yeah, that's good. Now I just need to get these others really tight. Push those on. Get the side going. Push it right down on these. still got another layer to go on top. So you want to see how to see the spikes. Starts getting a little bit more tricky as we move forward. Okay, now we can put the final back layer on, so we'll try and get this as tight as we can as well. And then hopefully pierce it through. There we go. Right, now because I don't want this slipping further back, I'm just going to start to tap middle two down. And then hopefully I can get these other ones nice and tight. Finally, we'll try and video this best we can. As I said, it gets very tricky on these ones. I'm going to turn it around this way so I can hammer it easier. I can see it coming through. Last one. Came through easier than the other side. And there we go. Reupholstered seat. All nice. Can't see the repair at all that I did. And yeah, really happy with that end result. Now we can put it back in the car. So my seats are ready to reinstall. Now, often on these rails that you can see here, I've often used general purpose grease before to allow the chair to slide in and back, but I've always found that a bit thick. So I'm actually going to use this today, which is a white lithium grease, which is for metal on metal. It's water and heat resistant, long lasting protection. You can read. Don't need to read that out to you. So I'm going to spray some along the rails on here and spray some along the seat rails, and then put the seat back in and try and slide it back. And if it doesn't slide very easily, then I'm just going to use my rubber mallet just to help it glide back as we go. So the driver's side one is in. Really difficult, almost impossible to film how I did that. The hardest part is just trying to hook the bottom of your the bottom piece onto these rails, but that grease made a huge difference, and that slid on really well. So there, nice new seat installed. Needs a bit of back adjustment, leaning back a little bit there, but yeah, now just to get the second one. So just to see that, just got to start them on the rails there. The passenger side is a lot easier to get in, partly because I've got more space this side, but also I haven't got the hassle
of the steering wheel, which kind of gets in the way a little bit. So now I should just be able to slide this back. Not quite as easy to slide the second one in, but we're done. It's looking good. Car mats can go back in, and then we can go for a ride.